What is up, everyone? Happy Monday evening. Hope you had a great start to your week, or happy Tuesday. Some of my friends in Australia, I see you out here. Thanks for joining us. Tonight, we're talking all things racing. We're going to be talking about some riot racers. We're going to be talking about some pod racers. And we're not going to talk about the NFC divisional round because who cares, honestly? Life is short, and then we all die. But before we do that, I'm going to talk about some Star Wars with my friends. Wes, punch it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Living Force UTD Network podcast. Tonight, all about racing. I'm one of your hosts, Eric Eilerson, and joining me tonight to talk about all of our favorite pod folks and a little Bad Batch along the way is the full cast and crew. Starting off with the man who knows a little more about racing than he did, 4 months ago, Dr. Corey Hilton. Hey, buddy.
Hello. Wow, my video looks like atrocious butthole. I'm sorry for that. I'm having internet problems tonight, guys, so fair warning, I'm probably gonna have a bunch of issues, so we'll have to see. Yes, I do know a lot about racing now. I'm obsessed with Formula One, and I'm excited to talk about pod racing, which is essentially Formula One in Star Wars, except only on poor desert planets, and only aliens participate, and Anakin's the only one that can win. So, just like Formula One, basically.
Other than that, yeah. It's kind of the opposite, right? You got your people that buy the pods, but they don't do the racing because it's too dangerous, so it's all the rich people. Yeah, I get it. I can't wait to watch Drive to Survive Pod Racer Edition on Disney+.
Yeah.
It prints the money, Bob. It prints the money.
Right.
But you know who else prints the money? Maybe, I don't know. Dr. Charles Hankel. I had to get you a segue, man. Hi.
All right. Please, if you are in any way associated with the U.S. government, do not come looking for me. I'm not printing any money. I'm earning all my money. And I'm also very excited to it has taken us 198 episodes to talk about pod racing, guys. 198. That's unacceptable, but I'm excited for tonight.
Yeah, it has truly been horrific. If you've been here since the beginning, Charles has been banging the drum for pod racing. And, we got around to it. Some stuff happened. A few Star Wars things happened in the meantime. But we're finally ready. And we're only ready tonight because we have the man who is the guy in our pit, making sure everything works, taking the hydro spanner and zapping Jar Jar in the face with the little electro beam, Mr. Wes Jenkins. Hey, man.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I went through the whole list of the Boonta Eve Classic racers, and I tried to find the one that I guess you could say that had the most ambition and the most what do you tell somebody when they're not very good, but you you want them to feel good about themselves? They have
potential.
They have so much potential. That's what it is. They have so much potential. So that's what I am right now, and that's who my racer is. And if you can guess it in the chat, then you're the winner for the day. I don't have any money.
It's definitely the guy whose nickname is Bumpy.
That's right. Well, tonight we are going to be talking about our favorite pod racers a little later in the episode. Before that, again, hello and welcome. If you're watching us on YouTube, hello. Make sure you're liking the video, subscribing to our channel. If you're listening to us later on your podcatcher of choice, hello. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you had a great week. And no matter where you are, I want to tell y'all that episode 200 is coming up in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, we have episode 200 of The Living Force, and we are going to be doing an all questions episode of TLF. Make sure you can send us questions. DM us on Twitter, put them in our Discord channel and our Living Force podcast, email them to eric@utini.com, and it can be about anything. Star Wars ideally, but you know what? It's 200 episodes. We've done a lot of stuff. Make us think about things we haven't thought about before. Guys, what's a random question that you think someone should ask us? You know, what do you want to put out in the world? What are we going to talk about in episode 200? What would be an off-the-wall thing?
Who would win in a fight between a grilled cheese and a taco?
What?
Well, that is
okay. So that's the
kind
bar.
of stuff I'm looking for.
I like it. I like it, Charles. If you can bring that kind of energy to our email inbox or to the live show on February 6th for the 200th episode, we'll see you there.
What has Mace Windu been doing all this time?
Oh, he's the owner of Windu's Windows.
Exactly.
It's
Not
the shop that he
decomposing.
runs.
Something else.
Bless his little heart. So we're excited for that. Email us, tweet us, Discord us, and we'll go through all those as we can. Tonight, I also wanted to give a little shout out to our social team here at Utini. We've been hiring a bunch of people as the year has gone on, and we have kind of a revamped, I would say, social team. And this week, we had easily our most popular tweets of all time. The Instagram game is killing it. So, like, I just wanted to shout out, because Utini is 40 people strong. It's not just us, but our social team is absolutely killing it. And there's a specific tweet this week that went out that I loved. It was, if you could bring any character to live action Star Wars, who would it be? And in honor of our social team working so hard, guys, I thought it'd be fun if we just answer that for ourselves. Charles, I know you put an answer on Twitter. Would you like to stay there for who you'd bring into live action? Who'd you say?
Yeah, I stand by my answer. I did answer the tweet, and there was some agreement out there because I said Ember. I said Ember, Bell Zedifar's Charhound from the High Republic, and I said Bell could come along too.
That's fair, but Ember is key. I think that's great. Corey, what about you? And bring anyone into live action, because we're getting so many. Almost anyone's on the table.
I want the Blade of Bordata in live action. That's like a low-hanging fruit, in my opinion. I mean, that dude is just something else. I mean, straight up. Like, I would really like to see, and we're so excited to get more of his story, which has been delayed again, I believe. Right?
Well, it's finally coming out this Wednesday, hilariously. Issue 2.
Finally coming out? Okay.
Issue 2 is of a few, but yes, we finally get another one Wednesday. So great timing, actually, on your part.
Yeah, perfect.
Yep, Porter Angle, absolute king. Wes, how about you, buddy? Who are you bringing into live action?
This is anybody, or is this from the High Republic only?
Anybody.
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 Okay. So then I'm going to obviously pick Saifa Diaz. Saifa Diaz needs to come into live action for sure.
I somehow didn't see it coming. But yeah.
I mean, they could do a flashback to, episode 2 when you have you can have Ewan McGregor there too. You can just pull him back in to, let's say, The Mandalorian when they're just doing a flashback and he just does this. And then you have another flashback of him thinking about that, and there's Saifa Diaz. It's not, you can cast anybody. You can cast me. You can cast me for Saifa Diaz. You know what he looks like.
Listen, everyone, we all know the power of internet campaigns. Wes for Saifa Diaz is Saifa D. Wes, I think, is the name of the campaign. Saifa D. Wes, I have all faith in you, and I would love to see you on screen. For me, I'm going to stick with mine that I said on the tweet as well. I want Thane Kyrell and Sienna Rhee. I want to see, obviously, we want this Lost Star sequel would be great, but I think we got a lot of potential for them in this whole, like, post-episode 6, pre-episode 7 era that everyone loves right now. They're technically both still alive, and I think after Aftermath, Empire's End, there's a lot of questions that, if a little X-Wing pilot and a Imperial that got kind of captured maybe could go into the unknown reaches and see what's going on, maybe that would be cool. But I would love to see, even if it's just like a guy walks by and it's like, oh, Lieutenant Kyrell, huh? And that's it. I'm good with that. Also, I'm available. I'm available. So, again, thank you to the UTD social team and everyone that is having a good time on that. It is a great way to start our year. Now, a couple life updates. I want to talk about our weeks here. In the chat, I do want to talk about my life update, as everyone has kind of said here. I redid my office. If you're listening to us, this was a blue wall with a couple of posters last couple weeks, and I was waiting. This weekend, Charlie went out of town, and I had caffeine late at night. So I kind of went out a bit of a spree, and I hung a bunch of shelves and Funkos behind me. I'm very, very stoked about these. There is actually a third one above this, so I miscalculated it. So I have 3 shelves, so I'm going to put probably 2 more under this. And then there's also 3 of these up to... There's a very big thing, is what I'm saying, and I'm very happy with it. So thank you for all the compliments in the chat. I'm glad you enjoy it. I'm going to try to, like, move the Funkos around as the shows go on. Maybe I'll bring a lightsaber on here. I did measure this to make sure it could fit a hardcover book. So as we talk about books, I can, like, bring a book in. So that was my week. And it was very fun.
Do you have to,
Morton? Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No.
I was just say, do you have to dust the tops of those heads individually?
You should. And I definitely did when we moved. Every single time I packed a Funko, I dusted it off. So that was like my big dusting of the year. But
it's like that scene in Toy Story where that toy maker cleans the eyeballs of Woody with the little Q-tips. That was just the most satisfying scene in all the animation, I swear.
That's exactly how it is. It's exactly how it is, and it's arduous. But for right now, they should all be mostly clean. So happy about that. I got my Bad Batch guys here, the Ahsokas, the Andors, and then behind me I got like these little Target exclusive. I gotta spin my chair around here. My Target exclusive, like, comic ones. So that's fun. Also, a quick Morton update for those that are following his surgery. Today, he got his sutures out of his eye. It healed perfectly. He's fine, and the mass in his eyeball was benign. So
that's fantastic.
He's all good from an eye standpoint. He's going to be on pain medication probably forever because he's old. But thank you to everyone again for reaching out. And Morton is doing great. He is so happy. He's way more comfy now. The cone of shame is off. And to anyone, if you ever get told that you have to remove your dog's eye, it's a little freaky, but after a couple weeks, they're really happy, and I'm so glad we made the decision. So, all good in the Allerson household. Okay, Charles, I'm going to throw to you, because in our Slack, in which we talk all the time to each other, but of course never about Wes's girlfriend, Charles, you put pictures of your own construction project, because I believe you also had caffeine late at night.
Well, I didn't. That had nothing to do with caffeine. That had everything to do with Nicole's dad, who rolled into town and helped me for like 5 hours putting together my home gym. I had bought all of this equipment, I don't know, a couple months ago, and it's been sitting in boxes in my garage since then. And the guys have been telling me I got to get this thing built. It finally happened this weekend, and I had my first workout earlier today. So when this show is over, I'm going to wheel down the hallway in this chair because I cannot walk down the hallway to go to bed. But it felt good.
Let this be a lesson, everyone. Bullying your friends works. Because Corey absolutely you just barreled into Charles for months.
I did. I can't remember what we were talking about earlier this week, and I was just like, dude, where the hell's that home gym at, bro?
I think it was while you were reminding him to do a different project. It was like, by the way.
I don't remember what we were talking about. But sometimes we got on the topic of crapping on Charles, and I took my opportunity. So, you gotta do what you gotta do with your friends.
Yeah, but it looks great. It looks great. And Charles, as your new neighbor, I can't wait to come over and have a beer and look at your home gym. And just be like, looks heavy, and that's it. That's all I'm gonna do there. But it looks cool. Wes, you also have new stuff? Did you also do new things this week?
I'm surprised this podcast is even going on right now with what I did to the setup. So I switched computers.
Don't say that out loud.
I switched computers.
What are you talking about? My camera's been shit since we started, Wes.
Yeah, that has nothing to. What I did has nothing to do with your crap camera. So in my genius thinking, which is not genius at all, I decided to move all of my streaming stuff to the streaming PC. I have 2 PCs underneath my desk here. I have one that runs the stream, and then the other computer is supposed to be for when I play video games and I stream. I'm going to be some big time internet sensation, and that's never happened because I never turn it on. So It's always just like, oh, that 15 minutes of prep is so much work. I don't want to do it. I just want to play the damn game. So I moved all the stuff to the streaming PC, and it's all set up, and I can't get the audio to work correctly on the gaming PC, blah, 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 blah. I also got a new monitor to help me with like color grading and color scale so I can do thumbnails and stuff for you, Teeny.
Nice.
It's much better because I was on a 1080p monitor. It's like
surprising.
Yeah, and so I switched to a 1440p. I have a 1440p monitor as well, but I just never used it for color grading, which is stupid. So I just got a lot of new tech stuff. I switched a bunch of stuff around. I'm glad this stuff is working. But I also did a little workout this week, and my girlfriend and I are both super sore. We can't move. We've been crawling since Saturday. So I feel your pain, Charles.
See, I
feel
great.
your pain.
I haven't.
Eric feels fine.
I'm just saying, some of us can move today, and others of us worked out. So we'll see who's correct here. God, I'm almost afraid to ask. Corey, did you build things, change things?
Kind of, actually.
Week.
Sort of related to Wes's thing too. Wes messaged me like 2 weeks ago or last week or whenever that was, and was like, "Hey, still looking for a 4090?" And I was like, yeah, dude. And so he bought one. I just like, yeah, go ahead and buy it, and here's my address or whatever, and just bill me on Venmo. And I have to be honest, he sent me the bill on Venmo, and I had a split second of, oh my God, what have I done? Wes had already shipped it, so I was like, oh man, I can't back out of this now, but this is a little out of my budget, I have to say. I was not expecting it. I really thought they were closer to like, I don't know, $1,500 or $1,600. I didn't realize it was going to be like almost $2,000 for a video card. And anyway, so I installed that this week. I know it hurt real bad. It was a terrible decision, and
it was a great decision. Don't you ever say that.
No, I know. So I put all that together this week, and it was an awful experience. One of the worst computer building experiences I've ever had. I was working on the floor, and I was getting really frustrated because none of the cables were working. And I sat down like on my knee, and my knee landed on the sharp corner of like a piece of one of the cables that gets plugged into the PSU. And I have like a 7-inch long gash in my shin now, like below my knee. Like it really messed me up. Like it hurt me really bad. Like I was bleeding everywhere. It was a disaster. But anyway, my frame rate is fantastic now. I know.
Okay. So if you're in the chat and you also bled this week, I don't know, let us know. I hope that everyone else is doing okay.
Yeah. I know.
Well, I mean, rad though, because that being said, if any of y'all that are listening have ever tried to get a 4090 in the last, I don't know how many years now, like the fact that
years,
it
was like
it came out in like the end of November,
October.
Yeah,
like that.
It feels like years. Okay, video cards as a whole in the last couple of years, I feel like have been.
That's for true.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
But happy for you, everyone. Any good vibes about all of us not getting injured the next week would be great, because apparently we need them. But hope everyone else is doing well, and I'm glad that y'all made it to the show, frankly.
I am pretty sore because on Sunday, I guess that was yesterday, I played a lot of video games yesterday, and I stayed in bed a little too long, so my lower back has really been bothering me pretty much all day today.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
When that happens, you just lay in bed and play video games, and you can't walk the next day.
Hey, my left leg got pretty sore. I'm like, is this a clot? I can't be clotting. It wasn't that long, but I sat and watched the playoffs all day, so I'm like, well, I gotta get up and walk. I gotta go get beer and then come back to the couch. Like, there's a whole thing. So.
I commend you for worrying that you might have had a blood clot and not texting me or Corey to ask if you might have had a blood clot.
If I ever text you, hey, do I have a blood clot, and I don't, you'll never let me forget it. You'd be like, this idiot. Because I know there's a separate chat that doctors have with their friends that are like, guess what my idiot friend thought they had? He thought he had Melissoa pneumoptosis, and he clearly had Patia catatia. Like, what an idiot. Like
Charles and I have those conversations in our group chat in front of you, Eric.
Yeah, that's what we say to your face.
That's valid. Everyone, let me tell you, Weston, I think you would agree with me on this. If you aren't in a group chat with two doctors, I highly recommend it, because every once in a while they just go back and forth, and there's a lot of words that happen, and you just get to like guess what they mean.
Like, it happens to me all the time, for sure.
Like curbside Charles on like random patient problems. Like, hey, man, I got this guy. It's Wes and Charles and Eric are just, or Wes and Eric are just like, what the hell is going on here? Although Wes knows a lot, actually. It's pretty wild how much Wes knows about medicine. It's pretty alarming, to be honest.
Damn, sorry, Eric.
I
know. Well, I've never had to like staunch a wound in a deer stand, which I assume at some point you've had to learn like
A couple times.
there's no cell service in the next 5 counties. We gotta save this guy. So anyway, glad you all are here, but mostly I'm glad for our Patreon community. Everyone on our Patreon at patreon.com/utini. We want to thank you for your continued support of everything we do here. All this nonsense is only possible thanks to all of you. So thank you for helping us plan our year. We have a lot of great projects coming down the road. I will say, I don't think I've told you guys this. Charlie and I have begun recording Ghost Crew episodes again that we are bundling and we'll be releasing on Patreon later on this year. Thank you all so much for your patience on that, but that's coming down the road. And also a plug to all of our patrons, current and former. Our very own lovely Timothy Guthrie recently sent out a survey with a bunch of various questions that we would like to compile by the end of, I think, this week. So I think you have till like Sunday, he said, to do that. But it would really help us out a ton to kind of see what kind of content we want, what kind of events we want to do. Any and all feedback from Patreon is actually super helpful to us as a community. So if you are a patron, go ahead and check your messages and check out that survey. And we would love any and all help from you guys. That would be great. All right, Wes, we have one quick thing, but I think it's worth a Star Wars Weekly Roundup.
It's the Star Wars Weekly Roundup.
All right, not a ton of Star Wars news this week, but one very important thing that happened quite literally as we got off the air last week. We did receive the trailer for Season 3 of The Mandalorian during Monday Night Football. And actually, the 4 of us stayed on this call and just watched it together, which was a lot of fun. And I wanted to give a couple shout-outs. Number one, to our buddy JG over at the site who put up a wonderful article about things that you may have missed in the trailer. JG was on that like crazy super fast. And then Corey, you actually recorded a video on this very YouTube channel about stuff in the trailer. So, and it was very well done. I gotta say, you had your new setup, you sounded good, you looked good. And it was actually very good info, man. So
thanks, man. That was fun. It's pretty wild that somebody commented under it too, something like, oh my god, the Senate or something like that. It was funny. It's just like, but I have not done any YouTube content ever for Utini, which is pretty funny considering how often I'm on camera with you guys. So
yeah, you and I are pretty strictly Facebook Live kind of guys.
I know, man. I was gonna say the only video content I've ever really produced is very old and very bad. I look like a 10-year-old in all the video content. So
it was great.
But
this was great. This was good stuff. And I really liked the trailer, and I thought it'd be fun just for us to kind of go through and talk about some of our favorite bits. I think there was really cool stuff in the trailer. We saw a lot of new things. We saw Order 66 again. And did you guys know there's a weird, like, there's like a subsection of the internet that is like, doesn't like that we keep getting Order 66 stuff?
What?
Yeah, like, do we need... I don't know. It's only like one of the most important events in galactic history, and I feel like
it's traumatic.
Yeah,
we just don't want to go through that again.
Okay, great. So that's not us, guys.
I don't know. I think people maybe just like something to complain about with everything. I mean, with Andor, the best things that people could complain about was like there was the whole screws and bolts scandal with Star Wars Theory, which was pretty goofy, right? Like,
do they care about Star Wars? There's
I know it was strange. Like, I don't know. It just feels like maybe that's just reaching for something, but I don't know. I can't imagine being upset to get more episode or Order 66 stuff. And honestly, we haven't gotten that much, to be honest. Every time we get it, it's only tiny little flashes or scenes. Like really, Ahsoka's episode in the Clone Wars season 7 is really the only real Order 66 stuff we've ever gotten, truly. And
to that extent, we have like flashbacks, like the was it the Kenobi in Kenobi when we got Hayden coming in, but like,
that's it. That's all you get though. Is just tiny little things. Like I would like to see it really explored on screen.
Yeah, I want more.
Like I want to see a whole. I mean, that's just a really rich event that is more legend than anything. I would love to get some more content around that to see it extended. I want to see what happened. Like, were all the Jedi Council killed off in episode 3? I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know why I was thinking of this, but this came up. Were all the Jedi Council killed in episode 3?
Well,
I don't know
about
that- I don't-
33% by Sidious within like 7
Right.
seconds.
Yeah.
So we have those couple members, but
Yeah.
Yariel Poof is we don't know what happened to them, right? Who
think
else?
I don't
There's
know.
There's a bunch of people. Yaddle was
Wes's
explained.
entire fantasy team basically is unaccounted
No.
for.
They,
Exactly.
They died of old age.
They were,
During Order
they were
66.
napping.
They were like,
Exactly.
hey, Manhattan. But also that whole we saw lightsabers in the trailer, which was really cool, and we don't know that there are 66. We were watching it. I was watching with Charlie, and she was like, "Oh, is that like a flashback maybe to the Darksaber, like that mythology?" I'm like,
Yeah.
that
Maybe.
would be awesome. Like, I think there's so many possibilities. But
Yeah.
what were some of your guys' other favorite moments in the trailer? We got a lot of cool stuff.
A lot of jetpacks. I was loving the jetpacks because that I find. Well, I found all those shots really impressive. I mean, I thought the short clips that we saw looked really good. I don't know, are they still doing everything in the volume or not? But whatever they're doing, it looked like it was working.
Yeah, it had like a almost like a like the Battle of Normandy siege kind of thing, where like the boats kind of go down. They had the thing just open and the jetpacks just go flying.
Yeah.
Paratroopers coming out. And I'm like, this better be epic as it looks, because I think this is just gonna be really awesome.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be. It's pretty exciting. I mean, I still have to say, as weird as this sounds, almost blasphemous as this sounds, like of all the live action stuff that we have already gotten and are going to continue to get, Mandalorian is weirdly the thing that I'm sort of the least excited about. As awful as that sounds,
I'm with you, man.
Really?
I'm actually with you. It
I don't
feels
know.
weird, but I weirdly agree.
It's just like I don't know. It's just something about the show. Maybe Grogu has just been shoved down our throats a little too much. That maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but it seems like
He's there as well, using the Force, doing crazy
I
stuff.
know, exactly. That show has just not really moved forward in a way that I was hoping it was going to move forward. So, like, I hope that this season really turns that around. It looks like it's going to heavily focus on Mandalorian lore, which is fantastic. So I'm very interested to see how that goes. I weirdly. Sorry, go ahead, Charles.
Oh, I just want to say I'm kind of surprised that the Mandalorian is still so intent on like whatever you call it, being forgiven for his sins of being seen without his helmet on. Like it feels like he's past that.
Yeah, I have to go to Mandalore. I'm like, not for that though.
Yeah,
I know.
Just go.
Yeah.
just have a good time. I do also like this is gonna be our second show in a row, right? Where we're getting live action Coruscant. And like as Revenge of the Sith fans, we're all about that, man.
Yes.
That planet rocks. Like just straight up.
Yeah.
There's just so much you can do with that planet, and they just barely touched it.
They showed some of the traffic, and if you squint in the background, you can see Mace Windu still falling. Still falling.
Oh my god.
Easter eggs are fun. Hey, Charles, that's the best Easter egg of 2023. It's gonna be Mace Windu still falling into Mandalorian. Oh, but yeah, we're very excited about that. Of course, if you want to see the whole trailer and you haven't watched it yet, I don't believe you. Of course you did. But also go check out Corey's video on it. Check out JG's article on it over at utini.com. And let us know what are some of your favorite things you saw in The Mandalorian Season 3 and what can't you wait for. Of course, we have other things we can't wait for over here, including The Battle of Jeddah, the script book of the audio drama that's coming out on Valentine's Day, February 14th, and a book that I will say I just got my advanced digital copy of. I haven't started it yet. Star Wars Jedi Battle Scars by Sam Maggs, March 7th. I got the email this weekend, and I'm reading another book right now. And my problem is, whenever I'm reading a non-Star Wars book and I get an advanced copy, this is first world problems, I get it. I always stop that book and read the Star Wars book, and then I never go back. So I'm trying to, like, finish the book that I'm reading. But, I mean, when you got Cal Kestis in your inbox, it's very hard. But make sure, everyone, you're going to pre-order those over on the utini.com release schedule. The most up-to-date release schedule you will find on the entirety of the Star Wars internet. And that's a fact. All right. It's enough about books. Let's talk about pod racing. But first, we're going to talk about racing. It's working. We're going to talk about one thing before that, though, and that is the Bad Batch. As you all may remember, we have moved our bounty hunt content, where we used to cover all the extra shows, into Living Force, because it was all of us talking about it anyway. So I want to get your guys' vibes in the last episode of the Bad Batch called Faster. There will be light spoilers ahead, of course, as we talk about it. This is a tech-heavy episode, which we actually haven't gotten before. And after we were so high on episode 3, particularly that Crosshair Cody episode, what'd you guys think about episode 4? I thought it was a little more back to form. I thought it was fun. Yeah,
fun.
I just had a good time with it overall.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was fun. I was very pleased to see racing in some shape or form brought back into this. I am a little disappointed, honestly, that they just didn't do pod racing. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about Star Wars storytelling does not want to touch pod racing. Like, what is up with that? Like,
There's some big project in the works, bro.
I don't know. Maybe that's what
that
it is.
it?
Trilogy of movies. I don't know.
Is that what
like,
Ryan Johnson's been doing this whole time? He's like, I'm doing pod racing, dibs. You can't touch it.
I noticed
Yeah.
this on the pod racing Wikipedia page earlier. There's like an appearances section at the bottom of canon under pod racing, and there's only like, I don't know how many, think 15 references or something like that on this. That's insane to me.
Unacceptable.
This was like isn't that scene like 20 minutes in Phantom Menace? It's really long.
It's long.
You think it's
for sure.
because here's my theory about it. Because obviously this episode eventually Tech goes in the Riot Racers, which is like, it's kind of like more like Mario Kart than pod racing to an extent, because they got like weapons
That makes
and
sense.
stuff like that. It's Mario Kart. And Tech has to fly it at the end, and he is technically a human. And I'm like, are they just afraid that if they put any human in a pod, it will just immediately like delegitimize Anakin's like, humans can't do it, but I can because I'm a Jedi. Like, is that really that big of a deal that they're like?
I mean, there would be internet pushback, I'm sure, about it. Because
like, is Tech a Jedi? Is he force sensitive?
yeah, I mean, less has made people angry than that.
Listen, that came from the mouth of like a 9-year-old that said that he's the only human that can do it. That doesn't mean jack squat, right?
Anything Anakin said is pretty sus.
Yes, like
He also
I'm
said
the only
Jedi
human that can
can't
do
be
it.
killed.
Really? Yeah, I know. He said Jedi can't be
That's
killed. Like, I'm the only
to
human that can
Qui-Gon.
do it. This kid
Liar.
lives in like, third world country of a planet, and he's absolutely convinced he's the only kid in the galaxy that can do it. I call bullshit on that. All right.
Although in this episode, obviously Tech does a great job. He uses his smarts and analyzes the track and does all this stuff to win, and it's great. But before that, we have a droid. Was it Timo? Who's actually voiced by Ben Schwartz, who, folks that may not know him, he was on Parks and Rec. He's been on The After Party. He's a stand-up comic. Very recognizable voice if you've seen him and stuff. What'd you guys think of him? Because he was a bit of a
liked him.
zanier character.
He's a smart ass. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
He
I
was
liked him too, but I also weirdly liked when he got taken out of nowhere.
Twice,
That
dude.
part was
That's
fun
really
too.
funny.
Fucking twice. They killed this character off 2 times in this show. Like, that was.
I like that his face would flip around. Did y'all know that his face would flip around
flip
like his
back
body
and
didn't
forth.
have to? I liked
Yeah.
that.
It looked like do you know, like, if you ever go to New York and you try to look at the Statue of Liberty from like far distance, and they have those like viewfinder things that are like binoculars,
yeah.
and those things flip back and forth. That's what it looks like.
Oh, that's absolutely what that's
like.
inspired by. 100%. I'm a big fan of the droid design. Actually, that was a key thing I really wanted to talk about with you
That was
guys.
cool.
It's like, this is one of the most creative droid designs I think we've seen in a really long time.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't get a lot of variation in droids, right? We get something slightly different. Like, what's the droid in Andor, the little short droid that everybody loved?
B2 Emo?
B2
Wait,
Emo. Yeah, I see him. He's up there. Yep,
There he
right
is.
there. There you go. Yep.
B2 Emo.
Yeah, he's a unique droid, but like also kind of more of the same, right? He's kind of that short, fat, body shape, that
Rolly.
like R2D2 a little bit. But this
Yeah.
guy was weird and unique. His face spun around, like he's
Yeah.
a smart ass. Like, his arm joints are kind of interesting. Like, I don't know, we've just never seen a droid like this. Oh, his chest looks like engine parts.
Yeah, it looks like a twin turbo engine or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And much like 3PO, he's got the one arm that's a different color. You know who would love a black series of this on our team? Nathan, I love you. This is Nathan to a T, collects all the weird black series.
Yeah,
Like, this
that's a
is
good
one that I feel like, because of all the different colors and the uniqueness, would be such a cool toy. That I doubt they'll make, because they just stopped making Star Wars toys for a bit for some reason. But yeah, I thought he was fun, and I liked that we got to see him win a race first and be good. Like, they didn't just say, "Oh, he's the best," and then he was just comedic. Like, no, he's really good, and the only way to beat him is by cheating and then blowing him up. Which was, I thought. interesting.
did make me laugh that this episode came on the heels of us talking about how we want to know, like, what is the big picture for this season?
Yeah.
You know, we had like all that
I
conversation.
know.
Then it was like,
There's
hey,
nothing-
riot racing.
Listen,
We didn't have
there
three
are-
of the Bad
listen,
Batch in the show. They were just like,
I
oh, they're
know.
doing something else, and
Yeah.
it wasn't even like a big deal what they were doing.
They were
either.
transporting Nerf nuggets, like, basically
Yeah.
taking chicken nuggets to this stoner on DoorDash, and they're like, "Oh, Hunt is gone. Sorry, Hunter had to pick up a second job. Couldn't be here." Can you imagine Echo being like, "Your driver is here"?
But did y'all notice in the beginning that somebody straight up died in this episode? Like a person in the crowd
Oh yeah,
just
yeah.
got
Sauce.
shot. And it's like he got shot right in the chest, and they all looked and watched him die, and then turned around and watched the race some more.
Yeah. And then they were like, "The riot racer track is not responsible for any injury or death that may occur during the race." And I'm like, "Whoa, that's cold-blooded."
It's like, all right. So the crowd is involved as well. It's almost like you're at the front row of when you go to what if you go to like SeaWorld or something and you're gonna get splashed with water by the whales and the dolphins. But this is
exactly it.
this is a little more it's a little more
this
intense.
Analogy, the dolphins and the whales have guns, so like you have to exactly like that.
There's sharks with freaking laser beams on their freaking heads. Yeah, I liked all that. I thought it was really fun. I think the animation of it all was great. I mean, the racing was cool, and one of the things I really loved on Twitter, one of the sound designers pointed out that none of the sounds were repurposed podracer sounds. These were all actually original sounds for this episode. And because when I watched it, I think we all kind of assumed, oh, it sounds like the podracers. It's probably just using those files. But it was all original stuff to make them sound more, like diesel engine stuff rather than the podracers.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
That is
Yeah.
cool. I mean, I'm all for in general. Like, I love the creativity of, new racing types and stuff in Star Wars, and it makes sense that there are lots of different type of races. But like, at the same time, if pod racing is supposed to be like Formula One, that's going to be the thing that everything is based off of. So it's like it's a little it's a little goofy to me that pod racing has been reinvented like 10 times over and over again.
Yeah.
Like we have swoop bike racing from KOTOR. We
the
have
swoop bikes,
we
yeah.
have riot racing. What other racing can you guys think of? There's a lot of racing types.
Well, there was
speeders
the
as a whole. Like
thing,
just
the
regular
animals on
speeder
Canto Bite. I mean, that was
Yeah,
racing,
yeah.
right? But it
Yeah.
wasn't an actual
Yeah.
speeder.
racing. Like the
Yeah.
Fathiers.
Yeah.
There's another one I'm thinking of too. Is in a book or something? There was like we've had this conversation before. We're like,
Yeah.
this is really cool, but what about pod racing?
There was one in a Legends book Anakin did down in like the sewers of Coruscant. I can't remember what it was. They would
Oh,
wear
that-
like some kind of wings or something or jetpacks or something.
Yeah, it is weird because it's kind of like that thing whenever you're doing an homage of something, the rule of thumb is that what you're doing has to be as good as what you're homaging or better so that people aren't automatically thinking, hey, I'd rather be watching blank.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the downfalls of this is like, this is really cool, but you are making me think of pod racing. So I would rather just be watching pod racing. Thanks to Jared in the chat. That is Rogue Planet. You were thinking of
Rogue
Rogue
Planet,
Planet.
yeah.
Great call. One of the things I did want to ask, though, about the plot of this episode here, before we get into our love of pod racing, the big guy who's like he's a mixture between that tusked guy in Force Awakens, but
Yeah.
he's like wearing Cal Kestis's like jumpsuit from Fallen Order. He and Sid had a history, and he told him like, oh, don't trust Sid. She's gonna stab you in the back or whatever. Like, is that a plot point we think is going to keep going? Like, is that, like, that Sid is going to
hope
sell
so.
them out?
I hope
think
it does
so.
because,
Probably.
quite frankly, I am kind of tired of Sid. We don't need her,
How
right?
dare you?
I know, it's blasphemous, but I don't really think we need her. I think she's holding the plot back, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Here's my question. Do we have a reason to trust Sid? I mean, isn't the Bad Batch kind of like her indentured servants right now? Like, why do we like Sid?
Yeah,
She's
she
not a
hasn't
good
sold them out
person.
yet, I guess.
But she's
Is
not a
that
good
it?
person. She's like forcing them to do all these
No.
dangerous things
Mhm.
to make her money.
Yeah.
It's a gambling problem.
Yeah. The absence of backstabbing someone, I guess, doesn't make someone a good person. Like, that's like not the bar.
It's a low bar to be.
I
Eric's
haven't
friend,
betrayed you, so, huh? Humanitarian of the year. So yeah, Jared, I know you're also not a fan of Sid. I think honestly, if Sid has to go out in a blaze of glory, like sacrificing herself for the Bad Batch, and they're like, all right, now we have to go on in honor of Sid. I'm like, great, awesome. Huzzah! Use her as a plot point.
If
That's
you're gonna
fine.
kill off Sid, you better bring in Danny DeVito to voice a different character to replace her, to bring the Matilda stuff full circle. That's all I have to say.
The Matilda verse.
And there was a moment where Sid just like sat back and was like, wow, these guys actually really do care about me. Maybe I shouldn't send them off to their death every week and seemingly get money for
All
it.
the time.
You know?
Yeah. Well, we'll see where that goes. I think it was a nice episode. I had a good time with it, but I did like that it was a one and done, so we can kind of get back to something.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Um,
I bet this was an expensive episode to produce, though.
Oh,
if I had to
yeah.
guess.
Oh
With all
yeah.
the sound design and stuff they had to do, and I was very impressed with the art style. I especially noticed it in the tunnels. Like the first time we saw those tunnels, they kept going through. There's all that all those holographic like imagery and stuff on the walls. Like that was really cool and fancy. And the stadium was really well designed. Like I don't know, there was a lot of little subtle details in this episode that were a lot to appreciate. I don't know. I mean, I'm just continually blown away with this animation style. I hope we get more shows that exist in this sort of animation universe. Like it's almost becoming a universe at this point because we have two shows now with the same stuff. So like I don't know. I'm ready for the boundaries to keep getting pushed is what I'm trying to say with this animation style, because it just gets better every single week.
Yeah, let me see here. What's because we have all the titles, right? So this was called Faster.
More intense.
Not the
You can't
smart.
just say
Yeah,
that. You can't say
Episode 5 is more intense.
no, episode 5 is Entombed. So
I was close.
I feel like that's gonna be creepy.
That is kind of more intense.
Right?
it's
It
gonna
is
be
intense.
It's gonna be
I
part of
agree.
the Mummy, except in Bad
Oh my
Batch.
god. Bring Brendan Fraser into animated Star Wars. Let's do it. Get that Oscar nomination and also go into animated Star Wars. That would be great. But of course, this episode was good. I think we all do agree it could have been better with pod racing. And before we get into like our made little game this week, which again, Living Force 4.0, we're bringing in more games. Because let's have fun with our Star Wars. I wanted to talk about pod racing as a concept because I think there is I guess not our corner of the internet maybe, but there is a section of the internet that for the last 20 years has made fun of the pod racing scene being so long and having this like Messiah-esque amazing space fantasy story being interrupted by a 20-minute drag race.
Dude, have you seen
but
the
we love
Phantom
it.
Menace? Like the
Like-
20-minute pod race is a break from the terrible storytelling that is the Phantom. All right, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I said it for emphasis. But no, those people are objectively wrong. There's no way around
It
it.
slaps.
The
Pod
pod
racing
race
is
is
awesome.
probably
Yeah.
my favorite part of the movie, other than
I think
the
so
duel.
too.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
And I
that
wa-
is almost a universal opinion too. It seems like.
Yeah.
So I just can't believe that anybody would have that to say.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Because it's so fun. And Charles, I wanna hear from you specifically because as you said at the beginning of the show, you've been banging that drum for pod racing for 198 episodes. So what is it about even the idea of pod racing that you legitimately like you legitimately do want so much in more media and more references? Like what makes it so good for you specifically?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, the racing in and of itself lends itself very well to just exciting storytelling, right? I mean, like, do you like the Fast and Furious movies? Yeah, well, here's that, but Star Wars, and they did it first, right? Like, actually, I don't know which one was first. But anyways,
Yeah, just barely.
No, I mean, racing in general is fun. I mean, there's high stakes. You understand what it is. It's not with pod racing in particular. It's very dangerous too, right? So it's not just like who's going to win this race, but it's like who's going to win by just surviving. So that's a part of it too. We know that George Lucas, is a big racing fan, right? Like he made American Graffiti. He was huge into muscle cars and all that kind of stuff. So that was his, I think, little way to inject a little bit of that into the saga. And to be honest with you, I think the fact that you mentioned earlier that mostly only aliens can do it, if that's true, that little factoid made the pod racing scenes almost as important as like the cantina scene. I'm sure someone out there is gonna just like hate me for saying this, but like there
Speak
were
your truth.
so many wonderful aliens.
Yeah.
Like so many cool new types of ships. I mean, like shot for shot in terms of new stuff in Star Wars, that is one of the best. Like I don't know, it's just incredible. The different pods, all the different sound design is just incredible with those. I mean, look, it's normally, right? Corey, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't watch Formula One. Normally, there's one engine, yes, and it's on the inside of the car.
My God, I thought you were gonna give us some technical stuff that was just gonna blow our mind.
Technical.
One engine inside the car, and George, in his infinite wisdom, said, "What if there were two, and they were outside the car, and you're just attached by a string, and the engines are just attached by a lightning bolt? How about that? How do you not love that?
It's more like Formula One, except chariots.
Chariots.
Yeah, it is kind of like chariots.
It's Ben-Hur
Roman
meets
chariots.
Formula One.
That's
Come
exactly what
on.
it is. That's
It's
exactly
awesome.
what it is.
Which is Ben Quadraneros.
Also, can we all agree? And this is almost rhetorical because pod racing is the reason that we got one of the coolest video games of the late '90s, which is Episode 1 Pod Racer.
Yes,
Yes.
That
absolutely.
Game was fantastic.
was so
play that
good.
It's still good, actually.
It's still,
Like,
I gotta download
I
it. When
played
we're
it
done
a
here.
little while ago because I tried really hard to get it working on my sim rig, and I couldn't get the. There's a problem
such
because
a
the game
shame.
is so old and the way they ported it. There's a problem that like it doesn't detect controllers. Like you only play with the mouse and keyboard. It doesn't detect a controller. It's like I don't know. I've read a lot about it, but like so I couldn't get it to work with my steering wheel. I really tried to make it work and I couldn't. I spent like 3 hours on it.
So
The
you
last time we talked
downloaded
about it
it.
on the show. Yeah, this was like 2 months ago or something. The last time we talked about it on the show, I spent like 3 hours that night, like trying to make it work, and I couldn't get it to do it.
I wonder if the CD-ROM would make it play better because I still have it from '90s.
I also played it.
I still have my original copy.
Yeah.
I don't even install it. That's the problem. But
I played it on PC as well with like a crappy like Best Buy something, but I did it with controller as a kid, and I know it's on like you know on PlayStation now, but like this was also how. You know, I learned the rules of sports by playing games like NHL and NBA. I learned that by playing the video games. And I think with pod racing, that's how I learned who any of these guys were, was just in the game. And I knew their stats and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
That was one of the inspirations for tonight was not only did we get riot racing this week, but we thought we need to showcase the better form of racing, which is pod racing. And I thought it'd be fun for each of us to act as like a sponsor, right? Because in racing, you got the teams and the companies that like buy the sponsorships. So each of us tonight are going to sponsor a racer, and we're going to educate all of us about your racer and tell us why we as the Living Forest should put all of our resources into sponsoring this racer for the Boonta Eve Classic. And I don't think there's anyone more worthy to start this than, of course, the master of pod racing himself, Dr. Charles Hankel. Who, in your opinion, should the Living Forest be sponsoring for the 2022-2023 pod racing season?
Okay. There's only one answer to this question, and that is Dud Bolt. Guys, I chose Dud Bolt. Why did I choose this guy? I might as well ask, why wouldn't you choose this guy? I mean, first of all, look at him.
He's a crocodile with a helmet. Basically.
He's basically a warthog in space, which means that he's Jared's favorite alien. His name is basically Dude. His first name is basically Dude, and his last name has something to do with lightning, and he's a racer for a living. So he's got like the next best racing name behind Lightning McQueen ever invented, as far as I'm concerned.
Best tag team.
Yeah, now he's a Volpterine. That's what he actually is. And so you can see like his antennae on his little snout that supposedly is his anatomic advantage or like evolutionary advantage that made him a good pod racer. When they were trying to design all the pod racers for episode 1, they were trying to come up with little things about these species or these characters that would mean, hey, this is why they're good at racing. Like it makes sense. Not anyone can just do this. So that was his little thing there.
It looks like a growth. I don't know that it helps him at all.
Well,
You might need to get that removed after the
Need
season.
to snip that thing off with a
maybe
pair
they
of
work as,
scissors.
like windshield wipers on the goggles. But second of all, his pod racer. His pod racer is one of the cooler pod racers, I think. Like they're all pretty awesome, but his is the Volpterine 327. All right, so it's made on his home planet because remember he is a Volpterine.
Local
So
guy.
you gotta love a guy that doesn't forget where he comes from.
He's a local kid, you know, grew up loving the sport.
And his engines are the ones that look like hair clippers. You remember those? You're the ones they've got like the serrated fronts and they're slanted down. It literally looks like two hair clippers.
Wes, I know you're searching for it right
now. When you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But anyways, third of all, fun fact for you guys: this is the only pod racer I know of from the Phantom Menace who made an appearance in multiple Star Wars films. Did you know this? Multiple Star Wars films. Dud Bolt. His racer can be seen on one of the TVs in the Outlander Club in Attack of the Clones. He's in another race on the TV.
Wow. Yeah, he finished, didn't he? Technically.
Dud Bolt, Dud Bolt crashes. Doesn't Dud Bolt crash? I'm pretty sure he crashes. Don't those look like hair clippers?
I forgot about this pod.
They do look like hair clippers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. What is that? Like a
Mad Max Fury Road.
He'd be a great
like a 3-guard, 4-guard. I don't know.
He'd be a great sponsor for Manscaped. You just put Manscaped on there in the front.
Dud Bolt for Manscaped.
Put Manscaped on each of them, like this, just on top of each of the pods. All right, that was way cooler than I remember.
I've got some more fun facts about this guy too, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to convince you guys to pick this guy just from fun facts. So he actually, if you bring all the Legends material in, he is Sebulba's kind of right-hand man. Actually, he was basically his race bodyguard, if you will. He would kind of sit at the back of the pack and take people out for Sebulba, because we all know Sebulba cheats. But eventually they had a little falling out, and Dud Bolt went off on his own and actually was very successful as a racer on his own. Won plenty of races, sent plenty of or made plenty of course records. So he's a great racer. He's a great racer. Don't just take what happened in the Phantom Menace as, you know, his skill. Now, despite his awesome name of Dud Bolt, he actually had a lot of different names through the different iterations of the Phantom Menace script, and one of them was Bazi Barada. And that name was accidentally used in Terry Brooks's Phantom Menace novelization, because I guess maybe he was writing it while the scripts were still, you know, being revised. Wow. And so Bazi Barada is mentioned in the novel, even though that is supposed to be Dud Bolt. So that's fun.
Wow.
Oh.
And here's one of the coolest things, I think. Wes, can you pull up the first picture of Mr. Bolt once again?
Mr. Bolt.
Mr. Bolt, as he's known. Put some respect on his name.
So Dud Bolt was one of 2 of the pod racers who was actually a practical puppet. 2 out of, I think there were 18.
Wow.
We know that George was really pushing a lot of the technology in terms of the CGI characters, but we also know the fun facts, right, about how everyone in the audience for a lot of the far back shots was painted Q-tips, right?
I love
in
that.
The audience.
It's
so there was a lot of practical too, but Dud Bolt was one of 2 of the racers that was a puppet, and he even has a little featurette. Do you guys have that Blu-ray Star Wars Complete Saga box set?
Yeah.
There's about a 2-minute featurette called something like, I don't know, Dud Bolt puppet something, whatever.
That name sucks.
Yeah, but it's a great clip. It's a great clip, and they actually talk about how they did the puppet, how they shot, I think, Dud Bolt for like almost a full day, and then he's in the actual movie for about 7 seconds total. But
can I just say, can you imagine? Put yourself in the seat of the camera operator, right? You're like, okay, I loved Star Wars when I was growing up. George Lucas called me to work on a Star Wars film, first one in almost 2 decades. And what am I doing today? I'm sitting and I'm looking at a puppet named Dud in a little racer thing that's happening in the middle of a movie. And my whole day is just shooting a puppet with a little antenna. His name is Dud Bolt. Like, it just has to be a very surreal, kind of sobering moment.
I would love it. So that's my pitch, guys. Dud Bolt.
Yeah, that's a strong pitch, man.
For Team TLF.
Yeah, like, I can't follow that.
Did you ever get, so it's the, what's that pod again? The Volpterine 327?
327.
Let me see here. Let me see the specs on this. Valtteri 327. Okay, it's pretty good.
Are you checking from Racer?
Yeah, I'm looking at the racer. I'm seeing if we got any. Okay, it goes 760 kilometers an hour. That's pretty good. That's pretty
all right.
good.
It's pretty fast. Yeah.
Keep in mind in the Racer game, you can upgrade your pod. So your
True.
pod when it starts isn't like your
True.
final product. And one of my I don't know, this is like burned into my memories. Y'all remember what is happening in the background when you're upgrading your pod when you're in the shop in this game? Do you remember what you can hear?
No.
You can
Is
just
this
hear
Sebulba getting a massage.
No, you can just hear Watto humming the Cantina band song. He's just in the background.
I think I do remember that. Yeah.
I'm dead serious.
I don't remember.
Wow.
Burned into my brain.
That's fantastic. I'm not gonna lie.
All right. Well, that's all right. Dudbolt. A solid opener, man. I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's not fair. It's what it is. Fair.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a tough one. Well, good start. Everyone, if you like Dudbolt, give Charles his flowers here. Let us know if you would also put Dudbolt first. I want to jump in here with my guy because I similarly have a guy that I feel Dudbolt's great. Charles, Dudbolt's awesome. I like him for you.
I like him.
But I don't like him for us. You know?
Okay.
Because what I think we should do is grab a guy who's an outcast, who had to pick himself up, fight from the bottom, and get to where he is today. And that is the one and only Teamto Paglis. Look at this, man. Look at this insane character here. He's the guy from listening in the circular
goggles.
pod. Yeah, he's got goggles. He's like sitting in a little wheel, which he loves.
see?
Because he has to. He does it out of necessity. He sees because
He's like the
it's
one guy
needed
that
for his
can't
job.
actually see.
He is. So Teamto, he's a Vecnoid from Munis Mandel, and he actually was, as he was growing up, legitimately an outcast from his homeworld. Like, he was looked down upon, and the only way he ever got any respect was by becoming a pod racer. He tried so many different things, so he's going to fight harder for us, because he knows that if he loses his ability to race, if he loses that, he's done. So he's hungry for it, right? He's never going to stop going. He drives an IPG X1131 Longtail pod.
Oh, of course.
Technically.
Those are solid.
Of course.
Now, Deadbolt, very respectable, 760 kilometers per hour. That's good. That's fine. If you want to come in second. But if you want to win, the IPG goes 775.
But he
And we
can't
know-
see, and that means he can't take corners.
I mean, he takes a couple at least.
Look
Not all
how
of them, I'll
big
admit,
the
but look-
He doesn't
freaking
finish the
engines
race.
are.
The longest
compared-
engines of any pod racer, and that's a fact. Also, anyone says that size
fact.
doesn't matter is lying. They're giant engines.
Is this shot in the film? This is like pretty impressive quality. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, this is.
I don't remember
Gorgeous
seeing
stuff.
this at all. This was in the film. This exact
I mean,
pod race was in
probably
the
for
film.
about 0.02 seconds as
Yeah.
it whizzed by.
Yes, it was by. This took some guy like 4 weeks to do, and George was like, "All right, that's enough." Moving on.
Oh,
So
man.
So here's the
Dud-
cockpit. If
Yeah,
you
that's
call
the
it that.
cockpit connected to it. Team 2 also, aside from being a racer, aside from having a great giant pod, my boy has that dog in him, all right, in so many ways, because he's got that dog in him. Because he
I
is,
see you. I see
he
you.
is,
double
quote,
down, double down.
he is infatuated with Anne Gela, who is one of Sebulba's masseuse Twi'leks. Her name is Anne, you know, the Star Wars name, Anne.
Of course.
And apparently, in Legends, this is real, at a party before the Boonta Eve Classic, he heard Mars Guo hitting on her, saying, "I can take you away from here. Come back with me." And Teamto legit told Sebulba about it. And that is why Sebulba took Mars out in the race and freaking killed him.
Eric,
Teamto's got ice in his veins.
Eric, do you
He's
want to know who
all about it.
helped take out Mars Guo?
I do.
With Sebulba?
Deadbolt.
Deadbolt.
That's great. Teamto's a planner. Teamto's a teammate guy. Even though that wasn't his team, he's not the right hand. He's like, you know what? If I can't have my girl, no one can. He's ruthless. Also, apparently, according to Legends, he was canonically likely drunk during the race. He actually was at the lounge. Corey, you'd appreciate it. He's a lounge guy. He goes to the Sky Lounge.
Yep. Speak my language.
And he apparently,
Jeez.
in a legend story, had multiple drinks beforehand.
Lounge guy.
But also, he did not crash during the Classic. If you remember, a Tuscan Raider shot him with a slug thrower. And the pod legit melted his ears off afterwards. He was so injured, but he kept racing because nothing keeps Team Toe down. He keeps on going. In subsequent years, he kept racing. He lost an eye. He lost an arm. And most importantly, he has an emotional side because eventually he met up with Leia in a story and sent her a copy of the vid of Anakin winning the Boonta Eve Classic. So he is the reason that Leia eventually got to see Anakin win and know about her father. So he's got the emotional side.
What?
He's got that dog in him, as we established. And also, he's got the biggest pod, and it goes real fast. So, Team Topagles, my dude.
So Dud Bolt so far, or the one-eyed, one-armed, no-eared, can't see out of his pod, Team Toe. That's where we're at so far.
Right.
With the giant pod. His pod is so
Gotcha.
long.
Gotcha.
We get it. Okay.
All right, the floor is open. Wes, Corey, who's feeling good? I feel like we're starting off with two pretty strong contenders. Also, I am 1,000% downloading Star Wars Podracer when we get off this on my PS5.
All right, I'll go next. So, the pod racing pilot that I chose is kind of a youngster in the eyes of all the other racers. So he hasn't been doing it for very long, but he's actually very, very good at it. He is around the same. What did you say, like a teenager, but not really. And I didn't know that until I just read that today. But anyways, my pod racing pilot is Odie Mandrell. So if nobody knows what Odie Mandrell is, or it looks like, he's humanoid but has some strange ears. And it's almost reminiscent of a hat that Omega's wearing in the Bad Batch now that I look at it. So if you take a look here, it kind of looks the same as that hat that she's wearing.
This guy looks like he showed up like really stoned to class picture day and was like, I can't let anyone know.
This guy looks like Smurf had a baby with a camel. That's what he looks like.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
So,
Tell me I'm wrong.
I like the headset that he's wearing.
Yeah.
You ever like out in public or like in a restaurant and like one of those like truckers comes in and he like doesn't take off his headset and it's just really awkward.
Yeah.
Charles, I mean, get patients like this. I've had patients like this where they come in wearing their headset. It's like, dude, you can't convince me that it's not more comfortable to take that shit off and leave it in your car, bro. Like, why are you wearing that, dude?
Very important. Very important.
Maybe he has
Just
two
over one
different
ear.
jobs.
One over one ear and they answer a phone call through their headset. It's just like, what is happening right now?
I definitely used to wear, back when Bluetooth headsets were in their infancy in high school, I used to like wear one on my ear, just be like, oh yeah, no, I don't know, I might get a call.
Yeah,
I was 14, no one's calling me.
you seem like the type, Eric.
It definitely was.
So Odie was one of the youngest pod racers in the Boonta Eve, but he was basically what I said, a teenager. His pod racer, or his engine, I guess, was a Exelbrock XL, and I feel like that's kind of like an ode to Edelbrock. So it's like an actual engine block that you can purchase.
Nice.
So it's an Exelbrock XL 5115 engine.
Corey, you should buy that in your SIM card racer.
And it causes serious damage to other racers that he did not care about because he knew that those racers may have been better, but because his caused damage that he might get some kind of edge by hurting others. But the main thing about Odie that you should think of over Dudbolt, over who was yours, Eric?
Whatever his name is.
Team Toe. Sorry, we forgot who Team Toe, like that other guy.
Oh, the dog guy, whatever.
He got that dog in him.
He got that. Okay, he does not care about fame. He does not care about money. He is all about the adrenaline rush. My man is a junkie, and he will do anything to win and to race. So
Respect that.
if he's got that
respect
need
it.
and he's got that itch, that twinge, then he's going to do it for racing. He's going to win. He doesn't need money. He doesn't need that
Can
fame.
we see? I think it might help the people decide if we could see his pod. Can we get a picture of his pod up here?
Yeah, I can put his pod up there
I
for
wanna
you.
get that. I also
Is it
correct me
somewhere
if
out
I'm
there?
wrong. Oh no, that's the best pod.
Yeah, that's not the best pod. I'm
that's
trying
the
to
sexy pod right
I'm
there.
trying to just let everybody see the worst one.
I do, I do want to say, isn't Odie Mandrell? Isn't he the guy with the pit crew that like got sucked up
That's
into
really
his pod?
bad.
And
Correct.
exploded?
So that is what that is the bad part. That is what happened with that is what happened to Odie during the Boonta Eve Classic. He was stopped they had to do a pit stop. So I guess he had to fix something, or he had to refuel, or do whatever they do. And one of the pit droids got sucked up into his engine and broke. And so end of race for him. And he has 4 engines on his racer. Let me pull it over here so we can all take a
So they
quick
might not
gander.
be the biggest engines, but there's
There's
the most.
multiple.
Okay.
Well, no, Ben.
No, I'm
Quadinaros,
sorry.
I think,
Ben
has
Quadinaros
4
had
as
4.
well.
Yeah, it has
Yeah,
the most.
He had 2. It basically kind of looked like Anakin's. From
Oh yeah, they do, don't they?
These are
Yeah.
classic.
Yeah.
They're
They
like,
look
they're
very
like
much like
Sebulbas
Anakin.
and no, like they're like Anakin's, but
With
like
the orange
thicker
from
and-
Sebulba. Yeah.
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 They're classic. They're classic looking engines.
Oh, is that his flag down there? We could do a whole episode just on the flags.
Oh
that
my
each
God.
racer
Oh,
has.
that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. So
Vexology.
Fun with flags.
Stuff.
Odie
Studying
Mandrell.
flags.
Fun legends facts, like y'all were talking about earlier, the swoop racing. So Odie lived on Tatooine, local boy, and he worked in old Mos Espa Grand Arena. So he's now a swoop racing. It's now a swoop racing arena. He was employed by Olda alongside his previous competitor Tinto Pagalis.
Yo!
So he's employed. So he works for you, Eric.
Cool, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
let's
Let's
just talk
get the
himself
guy
out of
under
winning
my
this.
guy. Great idea.
Ah, crap. All right. So
I'll take his boss. Thanks.
Several months after the Battle of Endor, Luke Skywalker came to the arena seeking information on his father, Anakin. Odie and Tinto recalled the events of the Boonta Eve Classic for the young Skywalker and pointed him to Anakin's friend, W. Wald, for more information. Who is W. Wald?
I think it's just Wald, right?
Yeah, it's
So
just
maybe it's
Wald.
about
Just Wald? My
that
name is
was the
Wald.
little
Okay.
Rodian, wasn't
Okay,
it?
he's a Rodian.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a Rodian.
Yeah.
Um,
One that
okay.
everybody thought was Greedo.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Is that the one he beats the shit out of in that alley in that deleted scene?
It might be.
That's one of the best scenes in all of the novelization. No,
It is.
It
Beats
is.
the crap out of that kid,
is.
man.
And then also, so in 8 ABY, Han and Leia Organa Solo appeared at the arena looking for a fast transport to catch the runaway Kitster Kenshani Benai and recover the grass painting Kalik Twilight. Anybody? Anybody know what that's from?
Great.
I'm just reading words.
This
it was
is what
Odie
the
who
Slack
prepared.
sounds like when you guys talk about Doctor stuff.
Yeah. So it was Odie who prepared Han en route to swoop bike. So it was him that helped them, like with a swoop bike that got them to where they needed to go. So he's in there. He's in some
He
legend
helps
stuff.
out.
Yeah, and he's a
He
junkie.
helps out.
I like it.
I like Odie. I will say the pod is pretty. It looks like it goes like 794, so it's pretty fast pod. We have to replace the crew, of course. So
It's fairly
we gotta
boring.
get all new pit droids because they were not what we wanted. But all right,
Okay.
I don't mind him. Corey,
Corey.
bring us home. Who's possibly going to compare with our 3 studs here?
Well, listen, you guys may have puppets, big engines, whatever Wes had.
Drugs. Adrenaline.
What you guys are missing is neck, not heart. I'm talking great throat.
Oh, God, Corey.
You're gonna give me $1 million to
Nick,
guess the
Nick.
word.
Commercial. Immediately.
I just pull it up. I just pull
This, my friends, is Gascano. All right, the only alien. Oh, the only alien. I can't even say it. He's the only alien with the word gas in his name. You tell me he's not a winner? Come on, bro.
But it's Gano. But the gas is Gano.
Gas is Gano. Because he like you see him, he takes off in front of you. You're like, man, that guy's Gano.
Oh my God! No.
Wait! Gascano in 60 seconds.
Oh,
That's the next Star Wars story. Please.
That's why we haven't seen any pod racing.
Yeah.
They've been busy filming Gascano in 60 seconds.
Oh my God.
Oh man, strong open.
I like
Let's
to
talk
just
about-
protecting all that neck with this little,
I know.
Collar.
yeah.
Let's talk about Gascano. All right, so I admit that I am not nearly well versed in pod racing lore as the other guys on the show. Charles is like savant level genius when it comes to this stuff, and I don't even remember playing the N64 game. Like, really, I didn't play it much. I played Rogue Squadron mostly. You know, Charles, I was like, hey, who do I need to take? Charles is like, Gascano. He knew immediately.
Corey,
And,
Corey
I want
is
to tell you
just
about
like
this.
hedging things right now so that if he doesn't win, it's actually my fault.
Smart.
That's true. That's true. But I did pull this guy up. Gascano is a Zexto or Sexto. I don't know how you say his name. With a neck like that, it's probably Sexto. I mean, it looks like he swallowed a whole bottle of Viagra. But anyway.
All right, put the explicit tag on this episode.
Oh man.
Oh,
Dear
wonderful.
God.
Anyway, Zexto, whatever. That's what I'm gonna go with.
Probably good.
Interesting species. So he looks they look very similar to Yariel Poof, but they're different species. It's not the same species. They're a little different. Wes has got his pod racer pulled up. It's like it's the green one that were kind of like tall and like, I don't know, slender.
Tall and thin like him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a vanity project.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a lot of screen time either. He's only on screen for a little while, but there are some interesting facts about him. He was sponsored by Gardula the Hutt. I think that's pretty interesting.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
That's
Sure.
a well thought out expanded universe character, I guess, at this point. Gardula the Hutt's been around a lot, and this was like she like sponsored him because she was hoping to beat Jabba, who sponsored like Sebulba, right? So like they were kind of competing with each other. So that's kind of cool. The other thing that I thought was the most interesting fact about this is on the legend side of this. There is some theory that Gascano is actually in the cantina in episode 4, which is pretty wild. There is another alien that is almost certainly a Zexto in the cantina in episode 4, and there is talk that it could have been like, because there are some books that talk about there being a pod racer present in the cantina, and then there's this guy in the background. So like 2 and 2 together, people are essentially saying maybe this is the guy in the background, which is pretty interesting.
Why
Actually,
not?
I love it when
I
love it when they do that with the original trilogy stuff. So
just go for it.
this guy's scary looking though. He's this crazy long neck. Quite frankly, I don't see how in the hell he can even hold his face forward. Like if he's going. How fast did you say pod racers go?
700, almost 800 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, I know, something ridiculous like that. So it's very funny. The Formula One racers, they all have huge necks. Like it's a very obvious characteristic about them because the G forces that it takes to move, like just to look forward in a Formula One car is ridiculous. So like all the racers, look at pictures of the drivers. Sometimes they have these huge necks. Charles Leclerc, especially who drives for Ferrari, like.
No,
he's known for this huge muscular neck. Is ridiculous. So like the fact that this guy is going like three or four times as fast as a Formula One car, like you telling me that when he's like sitting up in his pod racer, he doesn't just go That is what would happen. All right, his neck would be a full extension.
Sling back.
That's what his other two arms are for, to like hold his head
Hold his
forward
head.
while his other two are doing the controls.
Exactly what his arms
He's
are
so
for.
dexterous.
100%.
He's got some interesting elbow knee joints going on.
He does.
Like-
They look like
He
mushrooms.
does.
I had
God.
this action figure as a kid.
No way.
Yeah.
You're the Gasgano guy. You're like, I gotta have it. Wow.
That's all I got.
I mean, you came in
Katie
hot,
got
Corey.
It's
I'm
not
gonna
fair.
lie. God, man, if you were ever in a car at the top of the makeout point with Gasgano and you went necking with him, it would be a hell of an experience. that's for sure.
Necking.
Would be indeed.
Wow.
So you got Dud. You got
For-
Team Toe.
Crocodile.
Yep.
Crocodile. You
Yeah,
got
Teddy
Ordy.
bear,
Camel
old
Smurf.
man with headset.
Well,
You
then
got
it's set and
Gasgano.
then neck.
Neck.
I think
man.
most importantly here, though, I think everyone has to remember that none of us chose Anakin Skywalker or Ursula Bulba.
That's right.
And that's
Can
all that
I-
really matters. 'cause
can
if
I
you think
give
you
a
were
point?
loser-
That's too easy.
Can I give a point to that might help Corey? I think Gasgano got second place in the
did
Boonta
he?
Eve Classic. I'm pretty sure
Did he really?
he actually finished the race.
Is
The
the
first
only
loser.
other racer that finished?
No, I know Eve Endicott also finished,
Hmm.
who we didn't talk about, but I love playing as him on Racer. But I think, I think Gasgano got like second place.
That's pretty solid. You know what?
I'm
think
looking
that-
all the I'm looking at all the images from the film of Gasgano, and his neck is a different thickness in every single image.
Dude,
this is
I
gonna
think
be
that's
your
you
new
got some
thing.
weird,
You're
yeah,
like,
you got
Gasgano's
some weird
Gasgano's neck
fetish.
thickness.
Probably
He
the
also
whole
has
episode
this.
on
There's also a shot where he's like looking at the camera, and like all the other racers are behind him, and he's like, you're seeing it like from the front, and he's like leaning forward really hard. He's a huge Adam's apple. Like I've never seen an Adam's apple.
Ugh.
There's a big old bone in his
Ugh.
neck. Just thought you guys should know.
I don't feel good about. I'm
that.
never playing as him. I can't do it. This is too much now for me.
I thought you guys should know.
Oh,
Overall, though, I think we all have very solid choices. We're gonna, as we cultivate the next upcoming season, everyone, we'll let you know who we put our money behind, because there's gonna be, I'm sure, a very vibrant pod racing season coming up. But most importantly, if you get nothing else out of all our presentations, it's this: more pod racing. Do
Yeah.
actual pod racing games.
Please do it. Somebody do
shows.
it, man.
Yeah, this guy's
Look at
neck
that guy.
is
Who is
actually
this?
wider than his
Look
head.
at that guy. He's a Ferrari driver. Look at this
That
guy.
neck is too big. Put
you
it
need to
back.
you need to look up Charles Leclerc. Wes.
I don't like that neck.
I don't
I
think
don't
I
like
should.
that neck.
Fantastic.
But let's hope. Let's hope we get some pod racing again. Riot racing was fun, but come on. It is
There
no
has-
substitute.
There have been a lot of pod racing Easter eggs. I think there were a couple
That's true.
in Brotherhood.
Yep.
By
Thank you,
Mike
Mike Chen.
Chen.
Yep.
There's a couple there. I mean, it keeps getting brought up. And then there was that thing that happened. Was that it? I don't remember
Celebra-
what this was from. Was
At
it Celebration?
Yeah, there was that
Yeah.
that picture of like all these things that may or may not be coming in books and stories soon.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they had
Pod
things
Racer
like
was on there.
Therm Scissor Punch, who was in the High Republic Adventures, Sabe, who was in the Queen's books,
Yeah.
and Invader, and pod racing was on there. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Exactly.
I think it was Brotherhood was the reference. I think that
Yeah.
was because that was
Maybe,
after.
but they never
Brotherhood was
showed
afterward.
it.
I know
Yeah.
it was
But
such
they
a
did
such a
mention
subtle
it.
thing. I mean, it was a little cool detail, but like I don't know. I'm ready for a full on scene in something. Like I don't know. It's
Yes!
just
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't want to go there. It's like
Well,
I guess
if you want extra pod racing, I talk about this novelization enough tonight, but the episode 1, the Phantom Menace novelization by Terry Brooks, there are extra pod racing bits in there as well, including I think the whole book opens, if I remember correctly, with how Anakin lost the preceding race to Sebulba because he
Yeah.
got flashed or whatever by his
Yeah.
engines.
it's an
So-
awesome
Mhm.
racing scene. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's really is worth a read.
Yep. Well, go read that, everybody. Go watch the pod racing scene again if you haven't. But for right now, we'll be back next week. We'll see what happens. Again, in 2 weeks, all questions, DM us, email us, eric@utini.com. Go on our Discord channel, Living Force, and just tell us what you want us to talk about. We're very happy to do that. But for now, stop your engines, because that will do it for this week's episode of The Living Force. If you already support us on Patreon, This is what you paid for. Hope you're enjoying it. Thank you so much. A special thank you to Brian Dooley, Earl Q, Robert Thomas, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, and James T, Elizabeth Cloutier, Ashley Ingalls, Chris Carrizo, and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command. You can find us on Twitter at Living Force Pod, at Eric Eilerson, Corey M. Helton, C. Henkel, and Boss Wes. A special thank you to Matt Davenport, our amazing editor, Ryan, our graphic designer extraordinaire, and Wes, our producer and community manager. Thank you to Corey, Charles, and Wes for potting with me tonight. Thanks to all of you for hanging out. And as always, may the Force be with you.